Welcome to This is Kimberly A Bryant. I'm Kimberly, co-host of the Pop Culture Green Room with my twin sister. But this is my solo space to dive deeper. I'm bringing you lifestyle, pop culture, hot topics, reality TV, and fashion, with a little flavor on the side. From hitting local hotspots to cooking with your favorite celebs, we're keeping it fresh, fun, and always on trend. Let's go. What is up, all y'all good people? It is Kimberly A. Bryant. And of course, like I said, I started my own channel. I'm glad I did because now I get to do whatever the fuck I want to do. Okay, besides that. Alrighty, it's Monday morning. Actually, no, it isn't. It is Monday afternoon because it is 12:33 p.m. Central Time. And I've had my day started for a while now. I just I'm getting a late start doing this stuff here that I wanted to do. But on that note, the first thing I did was, y'all, like, I made, I had like fat kid energy and I decided to make a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't know if you ever did that before, but I used just whole wheat bread and I just lathered each side with butter, probably a little bit too much butter that I normally should. I need to go run this off later. I did that peanut butter, like, of course, jelly, just smush it together, and I fried that bad boy on both sides. Y'all, it was unnecessary calories, like, unnecessary for me to do it again. Will I do it again? Probably not for a while, but was it good? Oh, hell yeah, it was good, so on that note, so that's where I'm starting at. So, I've got an episode that's pre-recorded. I went ahead I'm going to go ahead and drop that. I said went ahead. I'm going to go ahead and drop that today. It's with my friend Leslie. She's got an interesting career. She started off as a travel nurse, trauma nurse, and then she talks about how she just kind of experienced the burnout and what she does now. So and it's very interesting. We're gonna get into all of that. And tell me, who is watching Love Island? I know I am. I'm into season 7. So I wasn't into, like, I really didn't get into it, to be completely honest, until Ariana Maddox joined and started hosting. So that's when I started to pay attention to it. But other than that, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I didn't even stay glued to it last season. But however, this season, this time around, I'm here for it and I'm watching it. I've got my favorites. It's funny. Ace Green he was already one of my favorite people because of the fact that he teaches all these people how to dance, like, with disabilities, people in Pakistan. Um, he does all these things, like, elderly, and it's just so much fun. He's such a vibe. He has such great energy. So when I saw that he was on the cast, I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, "No way." I was like, "I love Ace. He's awesome." And he's a short king. I love that. I didn't realize that he was 4'11", but you know what? He makes up for it. He's sexy as hell. I'll say that. He's young. He's really young. Oh, very young. He's 22. And then there's Jeremiah. He's also my favorite. So y'all, I'm just gonna kind of briefly talk about some of my favorites really quickly. I think he is, oh my gosh, he's like the full package for me. It's so crazy. I'm like, why am I talking about these guys like that? They're so young. But that's okay. You can look. I mean, it's yeah. They're drawing the attention. So I'll say that much. But it's been great. Huda's one of my favorite girls on this season. So I'm pulling for her and Jeremiah. But what are your thoughts? Tell me, like, if y'all are watching, Danny Gossip Girl and I are going to be covering. Sometime soon we'll be recovering, covering, covering season 7. We're gonna circle back and get back to, but I'll let y'all know. I'll keep y'all posted because that's gonna be a great one. That'll be fun. But and last night were the Tony Awards, the 2025, and it was a big night. I was happy. My cousin was there. We have our cousin Dale is a Broadway producer. He's won 2 Tony Awards. One of them, last year he won. I'm beating myself up because I can't remember the name of the play, but um, was it Appropriate? The name of it? Maybe? It starred Sarah Paulson. I'll have to look it up and figure it out. But he and I were texting back and forth the other day because it's like this is like the big time of year for him. So he's super busy all the time. But he went, I know, and he enjoyed himself. So I can't wait to find out how his time was. But we had some big winners. Let me go ahead and share my screen if I can. Let's see here. You know what? I figured out how to do it earlier. And I guess I don't know how to do it. Let's see, because I'm actually using something different. I'm using my Canva to record this time. Um, and you know what? Like I said, I was going to share my screen, but I can't figure out how to do that right now. But anyway, Nicole Scherzinger won. She was a winner last night. She's the leading actress for it was for the revival of Sunset Boulevard. So I was happy for her. She deserves something big because this woman has been working hard for so many years. And because a lot of you probably remember her from the Pussycat Dolls. I remember Nicole Scherzinger from before that. There was a time, it was a television series, I wanna say, Robin Anson did start it up, so it made sense to me that she ended up becoming, a Pussycat Doll, and they were looking for a girl group, and they formed the girl group, and Nicole was in that group, and I cannot remember for the life of me the name of the group, but I remember that they had, like, one of their songs that went like, "Get over yourself, goodbye." But I don't know, it was so many years ago, but it aired on the WB, I remember that much. Does anyone else remember that? I don't know, but anyway, so that was pretty awesome. Like I said, I was gonna share my screen and talk a little bit more about it, but they had some big winners yesterday, and, Maybe Happy Ending was, a big winner, which I had a feeling that was going to be. But yeah, like, I'm a little bummed out 'cause like I said, I wanted to share my screen and talk a little bit more about it, but anyway, on that note, let me go ahead and get into it. Like I said, I've started my whole little solo project. If you watch the very first video I dropped, it's with, my friend and comedian, um, Jen Cobra. That was fun. We made boudin, meat pies, not meat pies, boudin Pop-Tarts. That was great. Meat pies, that was a different episode for something else that was different. That was a lot of fun in the kitchen. I'm gonna do some more episodes like that. That'll be coming up. That'll be fun. That was definitely a hit. And a little bit, like I said, it was I actually found I was more engaged than in the conversation than I thought it would be. So it flowed really well. So I was really happy about that. So we'll definitely do something like that again. And we've got more Diddy updates coming. We'll have Andre Dessert back on our podcast on the Pop Culture Green Room, but I'm also going to add that onto my channel as well. So keep your eyes posted. And y'all, please don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. This is, brand new for me, my brand new, well, my solo project, but I've kind of actually dropped a few episodes on there already though. But all right. Well, on that note, let me go ahead and just lean y'all in and enjoy. Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Kimberly A Bryant, and I've got a super awesome guest with me. This is someone who's very special to me and near and dear to my heart. She's actually a business partner of mine, and she runs Hoala Publishing. But y'all, not only that, but she is a former trauma nurse and still uses her nursing skills today. She's going to tell us all about that. And of course, we've got some fun, like interesting questions because one of the things that I used to press Leslie about, because everybody knows I'm a TV junkie. Um, yeah, TV. And so with TV, I'm always talking about reality shows or like television dramas. And then there's The Pit, the new show that's out, ER dramas. So I just asked Leslie randomly, I was like, is this anything like real life nursing? Because I never thought of all the years I've known nurses, I've never thought to like ask that. So I have Leslie here. I'm going to introduce to y'all, and we are going to go ahead and get started. So, hello, Leslie. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. What a fun introduction. Yeah,
You're
I'm
welcome.
Leslie. I'm super excited to be here today. And yes, everything that she said is true. It's kind of shocking to believe the life. I feel like I've lived a lot of different lives. So went from being a trauma and cardiac nurse to extreme burnout. And obviously, the pandemic was massive. But that
Right.
ultimately led me to the work that I'm doing now, which is with my business and the one that you helped me with, Hoala Publishing, where
Yes.
we help people write and publish books. So, yeah, I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so, like I said, I'm excited to have you here. But one of the first things I wanted to ask you, just like a random kind of like question. So, whenever, let's say, okay, I'm trying to paint the picture. Paint the picture.
Oh,
Okay, so whenever you were practicing like trauma nurse and everything, trauma nursing, name a time where you were like, "Oh my gosh, did that just happen? Did I really handle that? I'm a badass bitch." Could you name one or many? I'm sure you can name many. Or do you have like one that like sticks out and stands
hilarious.
out?
Oh my gosh. I don't, I'm not sure if I ever felt like I'm a badass bitch, but I do have so many moments. Pretty much my entire career as a nurse was, did that just happen? Did that, is that what just happened? And specifically, I worked in the South. I worked in New Orleans, inner
Yeah,
city New Orleans. Um, and one
right.
of my first jobs was level one trauma. It's the highest level trauma you can go. And we saw some stuff. We had some clients or some patients that came in who had been flattened by Hummers in
Oh,
military
wow.
training. That was one of my very first patients. A I believe he was 18 and he was a cadet in the military and he had been run over by a Hummer in a military training. He broke
Oh
every
my God.
single bone in his body, but somehow still survived. And I was his
Oh
nurse through the whole
God.
thing and watched him come
Oh
in
my
critical
gosh.
care. And I wasn't in the emergency room. I actually worked in ICU at the time,
Okay.
and then just followed his journey. He did end up being in a wheelchair, but he survived it, which was massive.
Right.
And I do remember that being something like, oh my God, I cannot believe people can survive things like that. But I also in the same month, I had a several suicides, which was interesting.
Mhm.
We had a guy that tried to use a shotgun to kill himself, but he was using his toes to pull the trigger and the
Oh
barrel
wow.
moved. He ended up
Hmm.
blowing off of half of his body and he came in and it was like a movie, The Walking Dead. You could see his
Yeah.
heart, you could see his organs, you could
Oh
see
wow.
everything and he was still upright and moving, and
Oh,
you're like,
that's crazy.
am I seeing this? Is this real life? So yeah, I
Right.
mean, definitely have seen some stuff. I've seen people come in on drugs. This one guy I remember, we he came in on Spice. It was back when Spice was like going
Yeah.
around. I watched him
Right.
scale a concrete wall with handcuffs still on. He climbed
That's
the wall of the
wild.
hospital, and I was just like, "What is
No way.
happening?"
That's like, did you
So,
get scared? Like, I would have freaked out
oh,
because
absolutely. You're like, "Am I on drugs? Like, what just happened?" Like,
that's, oh my goodness. Because you
so
hear about
there's
these
some
things all
stuff.
the time. That's why I'm so
Mhm.
glad you're here because you hear about these things, but you don't see them. And then you see these stories that are put together, like these storylines, like on Grey's Anatomy, for example. And it's like, do things like this really happen? And now working. So, yes. So now
Yeah,
things or Wilder.
yeah.
Like, so with all that said, so what was it that led you to because I know you said you had mentioned burnout, like you just started to experience burnout. So what led you on to the path that you're on now currently? And could you explain that to us?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I first of all, I'm so extremely passionate about nursing and I went into nursing because I lost my grandfather to a massive heart attack and I was like, just I think part of me really thought that I was going to get a piece of him back or like
Oh,
I don't know. I like went to nursing school and wanted specifically to work in these like higher trauma, cardiac trauma, um, and I think it was, partly so I could be that nurse that helped save that life. So I really, really loved that. But with that, it's high intensity, right? It's
Mhm.
adrenaline. It is constantly being on a pager for emergencies. You have to live within a 30-minute parameter of the hospital. So you're always on a
Oh, got it.
pager. Your time is not yours. I had a dog. I lived close to the hospital, but like you can't even walk your dog. You can't, the things
Mhm.
that people think about, like I I thought that I would jinx myself if I went grocery shopping because every single time I went grocery shopping, I'd get paged. And then I'd have to
Oh.
leave my cart of groceries in the middle of the grocery store and run
Mhm.
to the hospital, So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a certain level of extreme pride in what I did, but with that, you can imagine there's burnout before the pandemic even happened.
Oh,
And then we're
definitely.
starting to roll into the pandemic, and you're starting to see significant shifts, extreme fear. The job itself was changing, and at this point, a lot of hospitals have been taken over by business people. So everything is about a number and
Right.
how many patients you can see. It's not about the actual patients. It's not about patient
Right.
care, individualized care. But then COVID happens and you're like,
Mhm.
this is big. There's something. And I was in New Orleans at the time. It's a port city. We're
That's
seeing
right.
people get
Yeah.
extremely sick and we don't know what it is. The last time that we
Mhm.
had seen anything on this level was AIDS, and
Right.
so the hospital's changing. We're putting up the morgue is full. We're putting
Mhm.
plastic everywhere, and the workers, especially emergency workers, we were required to basically stay at the hospital. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't
Oh,
go visit my family. I couldn't see my friends. Um, and I basically just stayed at the hospital during that time. So it was incredibly isolating. We're working
right.
overtime. People are extremely sick. There's a lot of fear. We're still not certain what we're dealing with. And, you know, realistically, a lot of hospitals had semi trucks outside to keep up with the dead bodies.
Bodies.
They were putting bodies in refrigerated trucks at the time. So that's incredibly, I couldn't even digest what was happening, right? Because it was
Mhm.
just one emergency to the next. And
Right.
I don't have the ability to compartmentalize things. So I just internalized a lot of it. And I was fortunate enough to become a travel nurse at that time. I also worked as a legal nurse. So I was
Okay.
the director of a law firm there. So I would sit on
Oh, wow.
medical malpractice cases and like review those cases and tell you if there was medical malpractice within the charting or within the case. So I had a
And how
couple
was that?
different, oh my gosh, that was incredible too. So,
That's okay. I was
um,
curious about that because that was something, if you don't mind elaborating a little bit more on that, or if you've got a story or
yeah,
two, because that's something I didn't think about at all. I heard about nurses like doing like kind of like at kind of like a call center situation, like over the phone type of
yeah,
thing. But I didn't think about like legal and me, I love the law so, and
yeah.
legal stuff. So yeah, if you don't mind elaborating.
Yeah, I actually I'm passionate about legal stuff too. Like I nerd out on legal stuff my whole life I have.
Same.
Um my initials are actually law. So I always thought that I
They
would go
are.
into law, but yeah, I was approached by a law firm. One of their nurses was stepping away and retiring, and they
Okay.
asked if I would like to step in. They would train me, and basically I just sat on a panel. We had, some medical doctors and then we had some nurses. I took over the cardiac surgery and trauma surgery division.
Okay.
So I was their expert on reviewing those cases and making sure, that there was not medical malpractice. or if there
Oh, got it.
was, and
Okay.
flagging that. So it was really interesting. I got to read a lot of different cases. Obviously, like everything is
Yeah.
documented now. So you
Right.
read conversations between patients
Hmm.
and doctors, which was really fun because, you see like there's a lot of crazy patients, but there's a lot of crazy medical practitioners out there too, that like are just
Yeah, I
saying
can't
what,
imagine.
you're like, oh, that probably
Oh
wasn't
my goodness,
a great thing to
I can
say there.
totally. Oh my gosh,
But
I could totally imagine that.
yeah, so I did that and I started traveling during COVID and I was fortunate enough to be on assignment in Alaska. So I was working in cardiac surgery during COVID as well as managing and directing the legal firm. So kind of fell in love with writing again at that point because I was writing a lot of reports, about medical
Yeah, oh,
malpractice.
that makes
And
sense.
yeah, and then Alaska, when you're there during the winter, you got to find something to do. So
I'm
um,
sure. Yeah.
it's dark, it's cold, and it's a long winter. So I fell in love with writing then, and I think as a manner of like processing what I had been through as a nurse, that those stories kept coming out of me. And then I had just eventually started publishing, where my first book was The Perfectly Imperfect Pumpkins, which was a children's book, and it
Yeah.
celebrates diversity. A lot of my writing, I started like blogging on Substack and just falling in love with writing again. And I'm still a nurse at this time, and I went through a major, me and my fiance broke up. Um, there was some infidelity involved and I just left. I was like, I'm not dealing with
Got it.
this. So I took an assignment in Hawaii, and that's where things really, really started to change for me. I did not know how much the stress from being a nurse during COVID had taken its toll on my body. And
Right.
I really started to experience some physical symptoms. And when I eventually did break down and go to the hospital, I was in cardiac, liver, and kidney failure and just
Goodness.
completely like done. Like my body was shutting down. So I stepped away from, nursing at that point because I didn't really have a
Right.
choice. Like,
Yeah. Oh no.
um,
Understandably so.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So but with that, though, it launched me on this whole awakening journey. I'm in Hawaii. I've got these incredible, just the land and the culture itself. But then there's this whole holistic view to health here where it's not just Western medicine here, it's Eastern practices. And there's a lot of free resources here to heal holistically. And I started to come full circle with that and learn breath work, learn meditation. And these were things that I knew growing up, but I had kind of, separated from. So I was just coming back home to myself and like learning how to feed myself and really I had turned all the doctors were like, we're going to put a pacemaker in your heart. We need to start you on
Wow.
dialysis to restart your kidneys. And I turned all of that down because I was 40 at the time and I was like,
Mhm.
I got to do something different. This give me a shot
Right.
here. So I threw the kitchen sink at it and started healing. And one of the biggest things that happened in that moment was my love affair with writing came back. I got certified as a holistic nurse coach. I went back to school for that. So I operate under my nursing license as a holistic nurse coach, and I teach people and serve as a bridge between Eastern and Western medicine. But the other piece of that was people were coming to me to learn how to write and to publish their books. And I had had such a bad experience with my publisher and given
Mhm.
them so much money. And they basically like ghosted me. And
Oh no.
I wrote a $15,000 check to this company, and then it was like pulling teeth to find them. So it made me fall in love with the
Mhm.
publishing world and figure out how to do it on
Right.
my own. And then people just started naturally coming to me. So a lot of my clients are people that I coach holistically as a nurse coach, but also we excavate
Right.
those stories that live inside of them and we work through those stories, we write those stories, and then they become published authors. So that is what I do now. I've married my holistic medicine degree with my publishing, and I've created Hoala Publishing, which you are a part of, and it's just this incredible healing space for people to come, learn how to write, learn how to connect back with themselves, learn how to heal through storytelling and, pulling those old stories and those old narratives out of us so that they don't live in us as disease.
Right.
And then just publishing. A lot of these women have stepped away from medicine. Most of the people that are attracted to my business are medical professionals who have stepped outside of medicine and opened their own businesses. They're entrepreneurs, they're business owners. So we write books that speaks to their mission and their message, and it's become really powerful work.
I love that. And what I love so much the fact that it's like just seeing the similarities, even from editing like the books and kind of going through them, like these women, it's like they all it was just really crazy because it's like everyone I found that they were all just trying to center themselves and really just dig deep into like who they were besides like just of being a nurse, or a nurse practitioner. It was fascinating because I always and I didn't mean to do it, but I always categorized everyone, and you helped me open my eyes to realize that no, that's not how it goes. It's everyone's different, and there's more to
Yeah.
nurses than just.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I love that you are giving that, a platform for us to speak about that because I when nurse coaching is very new, and I think this whole coaching thing has exploded in the online world. So it's hard to discern what's real and what's not, and there's a lot of wolves in sheep clothing, on in the internet and in the online
Oh
space
yeah,
that are making a lot of money for like they're not really trained coaches. They're not medical professionals.
right.
They're just people that maybe they lost weight and they're teaching people how to lose weight, because they did it. But that's great. And like, I'm definitely not somebody that's going to badmouth you, but nurse
Mhm.
coaches are operating under their nursing license. So they have
Right.
been trained not only in medicine, but we've also learned we have these tests that we have to take. We have these credentials that we have to keep up each year and certain education around coaching where it's this safe space for people to share what's going on with them, but there is an art and a science to coaching. So if you run into these nurse coaches, and you're a little bit
Mhm.
confused, like I have had people that are like, what do you do, like coach nurses? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I guess I do, but like more so in the wellness space. It really is just serving as a bridge between, the people who are just they're done with medicine. The doctors are
Right.
telling them one thing, they're getting sicker and sicker, and they want to be seen and heard, and they also need results. So nurse coaches are
Mhm.
that bridge that brings them to themselves, back to themselves in a medicine and modalities that are going to work for life. It's lifestyle medicine, right? So
Right.
it's really kind of beautiful. So if you do run into nurse coaches, these are highly trained individuals in the online and coaching spaces. We also own wellness clinics. I'm building a wellness clinic here in Hawaii. Um, so it's so much more than just, online coaching. If you do run into a nurse coach, then they are highly trained individuals.
That's amazing. And so I know you mentioned that you're doing the plant. I'm sorry that you moved into the plant-based medicine nursing. Could you explain a little bit more into detail for people who may be interested and who don't know too much about it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally can. This is a topic that 6 months ago I would probably have asked you to edit, but we
I
are
got it.
coming to a place that it does need to be talked about. Plant medicines have been used in every other culture since for millennia, for like since the beginning
Yes.
of time. Plant medicine, the food that we eat, the even the medications that we give in Western medicine and hospitals, most of them were derived from plants originally.
Mhm.
But through the years and through big pharma development, we have moved further and further away from plant medicine. And I'm speaking about plant medicine like herbs and, so,
Mhm.
turmeric, roots, ginger roots, teas, chamomile tea,
Mhm.
different supplements that you can take. But I'm also talking about plant medicine, as in
Right.
mushrooms, psilocybin, um,
Right.
and also cannabis. And what many people don't understand is that we actually have pathways in our body, like opiates. If you take a
Mhm.
pain medicine, you have receptors in your body that respond to these drugs. And it's the same way
Right.
we have cannabinoid pathways in our body that respond to cannabis and the oils. So these are things that our bodies are actually designed to consume that we've been
Mhm.
stripped of, you know, because modern medicine has criminalized them. But what we're seeing, and it started with cannabis, you're seeing more and more states have a medical cannabis program where they can
Right.
see a doctor with a green card and they can get medical marijuana for various treatments. And
That's right.
now it's opening up to psilocybins as well, which is mushrooms. And
Mhm.
the evidence has been swept under the rug for centuries. I mean, even Albert Einstein was talking about plant medicines, but some
Mhm.
of that research and some of those written history on this was swept under the rug and destroyed. But the evidence
Oh.
now is so conclusive that it is in the right doses and in with the right intention and with guidance. These medicines and these plants are incredibly powerful in healing us. And so much so that it's undeniable. The government can't restrict it anymore.
Mhm.
So you're starting to see psilocybin journeys and wellness clinics pop up. I spoke with a nurse
True.
yesterday. She is going to Denver, Colorado. There's places in Oregon actually launched the first like beta test for these psilocybin journey wellness clinics. And it has
Okay.
been so successful that it is now expanding to other states. So yeah, this is treatment like Alzheimer's disease, all the
Right.
autoimmune diseases,
Mhm.
memory issues, depression, anxiety, complex PTSD, these
Right.
things that we are in pandemic levels of the PTSD, depression, anxiety. You see it everywhere. You're seeing younger and younger kids with it.
For
And
sure.
the ones that are implementing these therapies are completely reversing that. So
And
it's
you're
beautiful.
right. And if you don't mind me like interrupting a second, because I have some friends of mine, and I've got friends who are military, former military, and I have some of them who have, were operators and they have gotten out of the military. And since they've gotten out, that's what some of them have been trying, like psilocybin and
Yeah.
cannabis to treat them with their PTSD. And
Yeah.
they're advocating. They're like going to Congress and that like they're making moves
Yeah.
because they're saying that this is working for them.
Yeah.
And it is they've had too many buddies of theirs like that, lost their lives to suicide,
Yeah.
and it's just it's they want to stop it and they want to find
Yeah.
some kind of solution. And now it's like they're like, if the government can, get this figured out, and then also too with the military. But yeah, it's proven it's proven to work.
Yeah. And I think that as nurses, especially in this landscape, we are doing a disservice to our patients if we do not communicate and educate about it. So it's really, really
Right.
important for us to speak up and speak out. And a lot of us, that is one of the major reasons that I'll never step back into conventional medicine, because it isn't an area that I can speak about these things. They want me to promote medicines and
Mhm.
medications that I don't agree with. I think there's a time and place for medications, but I also I want my patients to thrive holistically, and that's through lifestyle
Right.
changes. I will bring in as many different modalities and different supplements and plant medicine if they need it, with guidance to help them come back to a place where they feel whole without the pills. I think that when we start
Right.
taking these medications, you have to take so many more medications just to allay the side effects of the medication.
You're
So
right. You're
before the
exactly
year's
right.
over, you're on 40 different medications and you still feel like shit. And
Mhm.
that's just not a medicine that I actually want to participate in anymore. And I do feel that it is a disservice to not speak about plant medicine, because it's been so powerful in my healing journey, so
Right.
powerful in the healing journey of the nurses that have experienced extreme burnout, and they have started implementing it into their life, not only to heal themselves, but now we've launched into, there are credentialed bodies of nurses and doctors that are fighting for these rights. And there's science, there's studies, there's testimonials, there's clients that have been successful with this. And like you said, I mean,
Mhm.
everybody's speaking up about it, because we're at this level where we have to say something. We can't stay silent
Mhm.
anymore. We have to speak up about it
Right.
for things to change. So I love that they're getting the treatment that they need, and that they're seeing results, and that they're
Me
bold enough
too.
to speak up about it.
Same here. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that so much. So yeah, no, we're getting ready to run out of time. So I would love for you to drop your information. Tell us like where we can find your book, your website, like how people can find you, because like you are fascinating. Because I know I plan on having you on more, because we've got so much more to talk about. We've talked about this behind the scenes. So like y'all, this is like we're just scratching the surface. Y'all
Yeah,
gonna see a lot
absolutely.
more.
Yeah, you can find me Right to Rise, WRITE, to Rise, Leslie Wall. I'm on Instagram. My little
Yeah, perfect.
thing, I'll be messaging you back. There's no instant messaging with mine. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Substack. I'm on YouTube. I think I'm everywhere. I don't
Yeah, oh yeah,
know.
you are. You're everywhere. So I'll put your links too. I'll add the
Yeah.
links so that everyone
Yeah,
can find your
absolutely.
information.
And I love talking to people. So please reach out. Please talk to me. Please. I offer so many free resources as far holistic nurse wellness
Mhm.
resources, as well as writing resources. So I would love to speak with anyone. I'm always available. So
Absolutely. Like this was such a joy. Like I said, this is just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface because we've got so much more. Now I'm like, okay, plant medicine, because it's like this is like you said, it needs to be talked about. And I mean, and you know what? This is your platform, girl. We're going to do it and educate the public
it's
with your
time.
knowledge.
I'm here for it.
Yay.
Well,
All
thank you
righty.
for
Well,
having
thank
me
y'all
on
so
today.
much. Of course, you are so welcome. And thank y'all so much for joining us today for this special segment. And this is Kimberly A. Bryant. Y'all have a good one. Bye bye.
Cute.